Okay,
Nice to see you.
hold on. I'm not sure if I can hear you yet.
Okay. Is it
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah, yeah, I can.
yeah?
Perfect. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, nice. You're coming in a little bit unclear somehow. It might be the headphones, the microphone on your headphones
Oh,
or
let me
something.
just change the set. Let me just change the settings for the
Mm-hmm.
um, speaker. One microphone.
How about now? Is it better?
Ah, there we go. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, perfect.
Perfecto. Nice to see you. Nice to get your message about the the gig the other day, by the way. Was that
Yeah,
the
dude, I was so excited.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I don't know, just I'm the type of person who just likes playing. I'm always in the zone whenever I perform. But that comes with a price sometimes because once you're too in the zone, you just forget the structure of the song. And sometimes when I get to like the point where I'm just feeling it, I forgot, oh, I have to go back to the chorus. I have to,
Yeah.
so but it's nice that my band and I, we've been working for a long time now, that they kind of understand how it works for me and they know how to come back. But then I'm also trying to be more aware at the same time. But then I don't know. I just felt so in the zone yesterday that I was just like spitting out like tongues of, if you could say, like tongues of fire. What do you call that? Like, yeah, it felt like that. So that was amazing. I want to do it more.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. That like really, yeah, what you're saying about learning how your bandmates work and your bandmates learning how you work when you're improvising is something that comes through practice for sure. I relate to that a lot. And something else I wanted to say to that, something that came up for me is that um, you talked about falling out of the structure a little bit when you're in the creative flow,
Yeah.
and that's where it becomes important to like really practice the structure um, very consciously so that it becomes unconscious. It's that journey from you
Yeah.
know unconscious incompetence and then conscious incompetence when you realize that you can't do this, but you still can't do this, um,
Hmm.
as opposed to not being able to do this and not knowing about it to begin with.
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
move on to uh, inconscious or no, sorry. Then you move on to conscious competence when you really need to focus on getting it right, but you're
Yeah.
starting to get it right. And then you move on to unconscious competence where it's just completely automatic. And
Hmm.
that's the zone you want to get into with improvisation, because at the stage that some musicians get to, most professional musicians get to when they're improvising in a jazz setting especially, um,
Hmm.
they're not thinking about the structure. At a certain point you get to a level where it just happens automatically. I can still
Hmm.
remember my days of having to think about, okay, where am I in the form right now as I'm taking a solo over the song. Are we on the dominant chord already, or are we on to the beat part? Are we in the chorus now? Okay, yeah. And then you get lost for a second and you're like, oh shit, okay, I got to get back in somehow. um, but at a certain point it just becomes so automatic, and you really, at least for me, at the point that I'm at in my journey right now, getting lost in a form is really
Hmm.
impossible. Like, it just could not
Mm.
happen. I'm on the rails and I can't get off them, no matter what happens, and I'm dancing on the train.
I think it also helps that because I noticed that this unconscious thing happens when we just handle the new song if it's something we haven't mastered yet. Because I noticed that with the songs that we've been playing for years now, it's easier for me to get back to point, to the structure. But
Yeah.
whereas like when I learn something new and then I go ahead and play with it at the same time, before fully mastering it, it just seems so, oh, where am I? I tend to forget that. So I
Yeah.
think like one of the things is also muscle memory, or in a way mastery of the song before
Yeah,
you get to do the unconscious flow of the music. It does help. So
definitely.
yeah, I thank you for those notes. That's actually something that I need to be aware of.
I think so, yeah. And I think getting into playing the songs on the guitar and being aware of the chords, the harmony that's passing by, that's gonna really help you with that for sure. So I, if I were you as a professional singer and somebody who sings at paid gigs like that all the time, especially if you're going to do a lot of scatting and improvising, I would make it a rule to always be able to play anything you're playing on the guitar as well, um, so
Mm.
that you always know, like, whatever repertoire is coming into your gig sets should also be practiced on the guitar, so that you're always aware of the chords. And yeah, so highly recommend that moving forward.
Yeah, I think the best songs that I should be performing are the ones that I already play with the band. At least when I get to master that piece, I could play it together with them.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, hell yeah. All right. So, I was looking through the stuff that we wanted to talk about moving forward since last lesson. Um, oh, by the way, I wanted to put a short disclaimer here. I've been kind of sick, so if I wanted to apologize
Oh,
in
wow.
advance
I'm
for the
surprised my sickness passed on through you since last week
ah,
virtually.
it's
I'm
all
sorry about that.
it's like everybody's got something right now. I'm not sure where I got it from, but it was coming at me from very many directions, I think.
uh,
But yeah, I just
oh,
wanted
I
to.
hope you get well soon.
Yeah, I'm in the later stages of this now. My body is in the coughing, sneezing phase now, so I wanted to apologize for any noise in advance during the lesson. Let's see how it goes. um,
No problem.
so, oh, one other thing that I wanted to mention to you, something that I can't believe I didn't remember earlier, is something called Laxvox. Do you know what this is?
Lax box?
Yeah,
Hmm.
LAXVOX. Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
make a note right here that I'm gonna send this to you on WhatsApp after the lesson, because I don't want to take too much time talking about it here.
Okay.
Mm, this is gonna be very helpful, but the internet is gonna tell you everything you need to know. Mm.
Ooh.
uh, 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 uh. And if you have any questions around that, you can ask that maybe next time. Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to continue with the chromatic and major scale singing exercises for one, which you did, and it's already giving you results, which is amazing. I'm so happy for you. Um, then we were going to go into song structure, specifically the song structure of Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. I've been listening to this song and I think it's so genius.
Right.
With the lyrics and the melody and the structure, it's really beautifully done. And the way they have, I think, at least two, if not three, guitars simultaneously doing different picking patterns, so it becomes this huge soundscape without being overwhelming. It's very beautiful.
Mhm.
um so did you go in and jot down the structure for that, or should we go into that?
Yeah, well, it's really quite simple. It's just like two verses in the first, and then two choruses, and ad lib in between, and then another verse. Well, that's how I see it.
Okay. What is it that you call a verse? You call it, wait, I actually went and got my capo just before so that I could play this correctly. Um, my guitar tends to go out of tune. So it's like something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what you would call the verse, right?
I'm running in a turnaround, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hill. The landslide brought me down. Yeah, that's the verse that I was thinking of.
and then at some point it hits this chord, and it goes into the well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I built my life around you. So that's what you would call the chorus. Okay. So what you're saying is it never goes back into this part after it gets repeated twice. It goes into a bit of an ad lib, then back into the verse, and then it's over. This part never comes again.
So I've been, and I'm getting older too. So after that, there's like an ad lib part, and then we do a chorus again, and then I'm getting older too. And then yeah, we go back to the verse, or maybe that's how I see it because I'm just reading it via like the lyrics and not really assessing the whole song. I could be very wrong.
I think what would be very useful right now is if we just listen to this together, and
all right,
I'll tell you what I think, or if you think that's totally useless, then let me know at any point.
No, I actually love the song, so I love listening to it all the time.
Okay. Nice. I'm going to share the screen. And what's more, I'm going to share the sound. So you should really hear this. Yeah? Okay, so we've got a bit of an intro here. I'm going to write as I go. We got 4-bar intro.
I took my love, took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror.
So there we have one verse, right?
Yeah.
And it's got this call and response structure to it. Notice that, by the way. This is very important in the songwriting vocabulary. It goes da-da-ba, ba-da-ba, do-do-da, ba-da-ba. And then comes the response to that. Da-da-ba, ba-ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. This is a very common concept, also known as question and answer. When you're writing a melody, you first create something that sets up an answer later on, basically, and that's what creates a very satisfying structure to this for our ears to listen to.
Okay, so all the while I thought that the call and response was just like say hey, and then the crowd sings hey.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know that was also a part of a call and response.
Actually, now that I think about it, I might be using the wrong vocabulary for that. Call and response is more commonly used to refer to what you're talking about. What I'm talking about is usually called question and answer, as opposed to call and response. Okay. But as with any music-related vocabulary, there's a lot of different definitions for everything.
So, does the question and answer just appear on the verses, or does it also apply to like the bridge, the chorus?
So you have question and answer structures on the small scale and also on the large scale. You have another way to think of this is in terms of dynamic arcs. You want to start out slowly, like with low emotional energy, and then you build it up into something that has more emotional energy, and then you might release a little bit of the energy, but not all the way down, and then you might go back up even higher than you were before, and then you might drop it down all the way. And that's kind of the way that the songs structure questions and answers itself back and forth, you know, in the way the chorus and the bridge, the pre-chorus and the verse all kind of line up into this emotional journey. Really, that's what it is. It takes you on a journey. And so the sections between themselves, among themselves, call and respond to each other, and also ask and answer each other in that sense. But yes, each structure usually has some kind of question and answer within itself, but that's not, I mean, of course, this is a concept that's very it's not very well defined, because anything really could be a question and anything could be an answer,
Yeah.
because it is art and it is subjective. But
But I do notice, I'm sorry.
no worries. I was
I
just
do
gonna say.
notice that some, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I do notice that like if not all, most bridges they just come to a question before
Mm.
the chorus gives the answer. If I'm not mistaken, that's how I what I noticed though.
Yeah, exactly. And something very concrete, something, because I'm quite like mathematically, systematically minded most of the time, and I try to find something that gives me something to cling on to in this whole chaotic world of creating art. Um, Something very concrete that you can define very well is the contour of the melody. Is it going up or is it going down? You know, and that in this instance, the melody is really going down in the questions, and then it's going up to answer the question. It's going da da ba ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba, and then ba da ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba. So that answer is actually a bit more complicated than just going up. It's going up and down, back and forth, but that the question is only going down, and so there is a clear difference in that sense, right? And then you might get even more specific with that and start analyzing the interval structure in the melody. Like it's going down a major second, then down a major fourth, perfect fourth, and then down another major second. So the verse is going down in 2 major seconds here. And then the answer has this kind of big jump up a fifth up here, which is very defining, I would say, for this particular part of the melody. It does this little diatonic run where it's just going stepwise up and down through the scale. See my reflection, and then from here it does a big leap up an entire fifth. It skips over 4 scale degrees there instead of going stepwise to the next one like it's been doing before. So analyzing stuff like that can really give you a clear idea of what is a question and what is an answer, you know.
And it's so beautiful how the verse not only aligns melody wise, I mean, yeah, the melody and the lyrics align in that sense.
Yeah.
Because like I took it down and she
Yeah.
was really going down.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about a hill and then snow-covered hill. So like she was also bringing it up. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And this is really how you arrive at stuff like this. Something that's been coming to me very strongly recently is that like the music itself is just constant metaphors that don't mean anything concretely, right? Music is just a constant stream of metaphors. You can't really make anything concrete out of them, but you can put lyrics to the metaphors that enhance the metaphors, that so that they're synergistic with each other, so that the lyrics work with the melody and the melody works with the lyrics, and together they make each other stronger. Wow. And I think this song is a really beautiful demonstration of that, with
Um,
Mhm.
sorry.
No, go for it.
If is there a way to properly write? Like, does the melody go first or does the lyric go first?
I think it really depends on your flow. Different songwriters have different processes. For example, Elton John, I don't know if you're familiar with his process, but basically he had somebody who wrote lyrics for him. And he would get lyrics from this other guy. They were a constant cooperation throughout their entire careers, really. And so the lyrics would come first, and Elton John would get these lyrics, and that's when he would start getting ideas for what the song should sound like. He would read through the lyrics and he'd think, okay, we're gonna sit by the piano at the same time and kind of figure out the chords and see, okay, this part of the lyrics needs to be a little more dynamically low and what have you. He would see another way to look at this is to say that he would see the lyrics and he would deduce from the lyrics what the emotional journey was supposed to be like, and then he would create the metaphors of the music to align with the emotional journey of the lyrics. And that's why his music is so amazing, in my opinion at least. But then there's songwriters like, I don't know, like myself for example, who really want the musical metaphors first, and then they try to find lyrics that fit the emotional contours and the journey that the metaphors of the music are trying to convey. And I don't think there's any right or wrong there. It's just, what do you prefer? My process personally is just sitting around with the guitar and finding some cool chords, and then I might all of a sudden find a melody that kind of fits to those chords. And what usually happens when I find that melody is that some lyrics come along with it automatically. And sometimes those lyrics don't make any sense. But sometimes there's a line in the lyrics that just lines up perfectly with the emotional contour of the melody. And I'll take that little tidbit and I'll go from there, you know? So this one time I was in my depressive teenage phase of songwriting, and I was writing a song that goes and the lyrics that came to me were, yesterday it wasn't so hard to breathe. Yesterday it wasn't so hard to breathe. Yesterday it wasn't so hard to breathe. And I was like, man, I've got a chorus here that just conveys this epically depressing emotion, both musically and lyrically. And then I took that and I kept going and I built a song around that. So yeah. Any questions or comments around that before we move on with the song?
What I'm getting from all of this is as much as we're trying to play with the lyrics, the melody, they all depend on how you really feel towards moving with the flow. So it really starts with how you flow, and then the lyrics and the melody follows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It depends on where inspiration hits first. And then really songwriting ability, a good songwriter needs to have a good ability to get the inspiration in the first place, but then also a good ability to know where to take that inspiration after it hits.
Yeah.
And that's a matter of knowing yourself. Do you like to get inspiration from the chords and then create the lyrics and the melody from there, from the inspiration that you get from that? And if so, then it is your job to get good at creating lyrics and melodies, because you know where the inspiration is going to hit for you. So you gotta you can't really work on where the inspiration hits for you. That's the thing. But you can work on what you do with it once it hits. And that's what I see as our job as songwriters, really, to get good at the second part.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I am learning a lot.
Yay. I'm very happy to hear that. Okay, wait. Is it okay if I keep playing the song so that we can
Yeah, sure.
get
Yes,
through the
please.
structure? So we had this 4-bar intro. I'm gonna count the quarter notes so you can see what I'm talking about when I say bars. Actually, no, that's not gonna be in sync. So the song goes like, and I'm thinking of it as in 4/4 time. The quarter notes being 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that will be 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second bar, 2, 3, 4. And that's how I think of structure most of the time. That's also how you get good at never getting lost in a form. You most songs like this are composed in blocks of 4 bars or 2 bars. There's rarely a song that's composed in blocks of 6 or 7 or 3 or 9 bars. Sometimes there are, but what I'm getting at is that you never get lost if you know how to count 4 bars in your head. It's like at some point you get to a stage where you always know where the next mark of 4 bars is. It's like next 4 bars, or in this case 2. Sorry. Anyway,
What's the difference between a bar and a progression? Because that's what I usually get wrong whenever I try to learn a song. Like, oh, this is like I have to wait 2 progressions before the lyrics come in. Like, I'm not sure if I'm using it right.
So that's just a matter of jargon, really, of vocabulary. Progression is just what chords come after each other. A chord progression.
Like, for example, if it's like just like that, one progression is already 1 bar because the next bar in the intro of Landslide is also the same progression as the first bar, right? So you consider that as a progression too?
Right. I never use this word progression to measure time in a song. The only thing I use the word progression for is, as I said, what chords come after each other, and maybe more specifically, where in the time the chords land. So on top of the information that we have C, G, A minor, I might think of the chord progression as well as C minor for half a bar, G for half a bar, and then A minor for half a bar, G for half a bar.
Okay.
So that's the progression.
So I think I've been using the word wrong. It's good that I know this because it'll make me better at note taking when I practice my lyrics too.
Yeah. What I would call this, just as a heads up, because it's such a simple little progression and it repeats every 2 bars, and it's always the same 3 chords going back and forth, walking down and back up the scale. I would call this a chord loop or a chord vamp.
A chord what? A chord loop?
A chord loop or a chord vamp. A vamp is a word for something that is short and repeats, basically.
Okay.
VAMP.
Chord vamp. Yeah, I've heard that before, but now I get it. Okay.
So I would call this thing a 2-bar chord loop or a 2-bar chord vamp. So yeah. Okay, wait, let's get on with the song, if that's okay.
In the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid.
So this chord is really the herald of the chorus, basically. I really like this one because it's not what you're expecting from a song like this. You're not expecting this. It's called a mixed chord because it doesn't have its root note in the bass. What I would have been expecting to hear is instead of instead of
Yeah, it has a slightly less bright tone to it.
exactly what I would have said. Yeah, nice. Yeah, you've got a great ear for this. Right. Let's not get into analyzing the chords just now.
Changing, 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
And right there we have the chorus. We have the guitar kind of continuing its solo into the chorus, which is a very common structural technique. By the way, what I would use instead of ad lib for that solo is just solo.
What's the difference between an ad lib and a solo anyway?
I'm
It's
honestly
used most. Yeah.
I'm honestly not even sure what an ad lib is exactly, or if it's a very well defined term. The only place that I'm familiar with it from is when singers are doing little fills between the lines that are already part of the song.
Oh, like they're trying to occupy the silence in between.
Exactly.
Is that it? Oh, that's a better way to put it actually. Because like I was actually about to ask in terms of musicality between different instruments, how can you tell if it's like right to put a solo or put an ad lib while the other one is also doing a solo? Like let's say towards the end of the song, and then everybody's just playing um randomly. They're just playing with their keys, and let's say that the guitar does the solo. Sometimes I would just interrupt and like put like vocal ad libs in between as well. And I'm not sure if there's an etiquette with musicians. And I also tell my guitarist that like there are tendencies when towards the end of the song that we just play ad libs. I mean, we play solos randomly. That I would just randomly put vocals in there too, just to make it known. But at least now I could use that word ad lib as the filling up in between those spaces of his string guitar. Wow. Okay. Cool. I'm excited about this.
Very welcome. Yeah, soloing at the same time as others is an interesting topic as well that we go into a little bit.
Because I'm getting to like by maybe by next month I'm gonna hold an art rest and recreational like day for the band, just to get rid of like our mind off of our busy schedules, because we haven't been doing anything besides work. And I also want to reconnect them with like the connectivity between each other when we perform. Although we have in our own spaces where we're good musicians individually, but how do we blend that all in together as a band, especially when everything goes chaotic? That's a thing I still am trying to control or understand.
I think so. Basically, as a jazz musician myself, I think I can really speak to that quite well. I think that improvising it's like telling a story. And when you're improvising together, an idea that's central to jazz, to improvising in general, is that everybody, even though they play the same instrument as a billion other musicians, they still have their own unique voice that they use. And everybody has a very unique sound, not just because of what notes they're playing, but also how they play them. And also, obviously, the different vocabulary of licks and patterns and all this kind of stuff that makes everybody sound unique. And so when you're improvising together, or when you're comping for somebody who's improvising, when there's one soloist and the rest of the band is kind of playing the chords underneath, but also at the same time reacting to what the soloist is doing to try to play something that's appropriate to the emotion that the soloist is trying to get across. It's like a conversation. It's, in fact, to me, it is exactly like a conversation. You're picking up on what something that somebody else is saying to you, and you're reacting appropriately. And what goes just as well for that situation with a musical conversation as it would for a sincere, heartfelt, emotional conversation with your best friend or your parents or whatever, you really at first need to practice saying less and listening more.
That's true.
And you really need to pay attention to what the other person's doing in order to play something that's appropriate to what they're doing. So a mistake that most people make when they're getting into improvising is just, hey, look at all these crazy licks I just practiced over the past few weeks. I want to show off all this vocabulary I've gained, which is natural. It's like a child learning to speak for the first time. Say, hey, look at me, or I can walk for the first time. Check this out. But in that excitement, you often get lost and off track to what really matters. And what really matters is creating good music for the audience to listen to. And to create good music for an audience to listen to, you need to tell a good story, basically. You need to take people on an emotional journey. And in order to do that, sometimes you just need to shut up.
Yeah, that's true.
And you gotta become part of the whole and play like a football player would play for the team and not for themselves. Because if you all play for yourselves, there's no way you're gonna win.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's really wow. That's kind of a big change that a big thing that I learned is every uh exchange of melodies between one and the other, especially when there's two people um giving out their ad libs, is really a storytelling. And
yeah.
you're right about the listening part. We seem to like extravagantly show off our skills, but we would without listening to the space outside of that solo. That's also
Yeah.
very essential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. When we're soloing, we tend to take up a very dominant role, basically, and not listen to anything anybody else is doing. We think everybody else needs to be just doing their thing, as long as they're not taking up my space, because this is my space. I'm supposed to be soloing. But really, you're creating this thing, all of you together at the same time. And it will become better if you're all reacting to each other at the same time, and not each in their own corner, in their own mind. You can also think of this in terms of the ego coming in the way of the creative flow, basically.
I was
Because,
gonna, yeah, I was thinking
right?
that. Good, yeah,
Because
that's true.
your ego says, man, you got to show off all these patterns you just practiced. Why on earth would you have spent all those hours honing your skills if you're not going to show them off to everybody? But it turns out that the point of practicing those skills, and the best way to show them off, is to create good music, and is to play for the music and not over the music.
Yeah. Wow. That's true. Okay, it's to play for the music.
Yeah, that's something that I think, that's another topic that I'm very passionate about. Playing for the music and not over the music, because there are so many good musicians that they're so technically capable, and they have everything they would need to be able to play anything, basically. But then they come into a band and they just don't sound good. They don't blend in, because they're not listening to what the others are doing, and they're just trying to stamp everybody else out and show everybody how great they are at their instrument. Whereas
That's
what you
true.
should be doing is listening to the song. What does the song need? What is the song trying to say? And that's why, for example, somebody who gets a lot of flack, Ringo Starr, the drummer of the Beatles, often referred to as the worst of the Beatles, and people ask, why was this guy even in the band? He was a shitty drummer or whatever. And technically speaking, yes, there are better drummers than Ringo for sure, and he didn't do stuff that was crazy complicated, but he always played for the song that he was playing. Paul McCartney,
Wow.
John Lennon would bring in a song, and he would always find something that took the song to the next level. It wasn't complicated and it wasn't much, but for example, the beat in Come Together, if you're familiar with that song.
Yeah.
The dun gun
Yeah.
genius. It's not complicated. It doesn't take a lot of technical capabilities, but it really takes this already amazing song and it makes it 10 times better. And people remember that, it's like it's an extra little something. It's an extra melody in an already very melodic and catchy tune.
And you can tell you can tell how great a performer is once they know where to shine and when to give the spotlight to the whole purpose and to others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Once you know, it's not just about making yourself sound good, it's about making everybody else sound good. As a bass player, this is especially very important to me, and it's something that I've learned to turn into something fun for me as well, because I remember when I was starting out on the bass, I thought, man, nobody ever listens to what the bassist is doing, nobody cares. But I have the most important role in the band, which is to provide the ground for everybody else to stand on, and if I don't provide a good ground for everybody else to stand on, it's all going to fall apart like a house built on sand. And once you get into that, you really start to see the beauty of it. You start to listen to what the others are doing and constantly asking yourself, how can I make what they're doing sound even better? And I think that's the most important thing to do whenever you get together with a band. Just remind yourself constantly to listen to what the others are doing and think very rationally and specifically about what is it that I can do concretely that will make what they're doing sound better.
Yeah.
Create a space for them, really. And sometimes it's a matter of doing something at the same time as they're doing whatever they're doing. You might notice that they're repeating a little lick, and you might go and take the same rhythmic pattern as they're using, but in a different register and with different notes, so that it kind of complements.
Just to elevate, yeah.
Exactly. Or it might be noticing that the soloist is about to reach a climax in their solo. And so you pick up on the fact that they're building up to a dynamic high point, and you start doing the same in your playing. So basically, as a bass player, for me, that would mean that I notice that the saxophone soloist is starting to do a little crescendo in the lines that he's playing, and he's getting louder and louder and louder. So I'll continue getting louder and louder and louder, and I might go up the scale a little bit to a higher register on the bass to let the audience knowing something big is coming. And then once we reach the climax, I would actually stop playing to give them the spotlight, you know?
Yeah.
Because it creates this super huge dramatic build-up to something, but I realize that I'm not supposed to be the main character in this story. You know, the saxophonist is the main character of this one. And so when the time comes for the main character to overcome their heroic journey, or to finally overcome the challenge of their hero's journey, I meant to say, then I, as a side character, just drop out for a second and let them have their moment, and then we move on.
Wow.
So yeah, it unexpectedly turned into a very inspirational conversation.
It did. I love it. This is pure gold, man. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I'm taking from this, that even though I've been playing for years now, like sometimes you need a reminder or just to like awaken yourself again, is the purpose of being in a band and staying together is enhancing each other's experiences.
Yeah.
And that's what you can do together as a band and while you're performing and outside of the performance as friends, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's the reason why I'm here.
Yeah. I hope I hope there's something in there that will elevate your experience and the recreational experience with your band. I think that's going to be very useful. Just at the as a closing note for this session, you have a jazz gig, you said, on the 27th, or
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it's called, I think it's Bacolod Jazz Fest, because the city I'm in, it's Bacolod City, so there's a yearly jazz fest going on. I'm not performing with my band though. I was just invited as there's this it's called an all-star group where they invite like the jazzers in the city, and I'm known to actually perform a lot of jazz here around my city too. So I'm part of the all-star team, and I'm playing with a different band, a jazz band. And honestly, I think the songs that I'm playing, I could send you. Actually, it's quite. I love it because it's not a lot of. It's mostly scatting. It's mostly pa pa da pa pa, you know, and very very simple. But at the same time, I still do want to put my essence into it, which is kind of a struggle when you go into like more simple songs and you know, find putting yourself in something so simple, making um giving your essence into something simple. It's so easy when it's like up and complicated and playful and everything, but when it's simple, it's more, I don't know, it's more soulful, it's controlled. There's so much power and control as well. So that's also a challenge for me in this jazz fest.
Okay. Okay. I would really love to hear this song right now. So you're saying you're
I'll send you
scatting
links.
a melody that's already written out, or are you improvising?
Oh, I'm scatting a melody that's already there. But sometimes I would just give a few different tones in certain melodies, just to make it different.
Okay.
And I guess the way that I switch it up a bit is through phrasing. There's this song from, so I'll send you a couple of links to like some songs that I'm playing.
Yeah.
There's one song that's just purely, it's lyrical. The lyrics are very beautiful. Diane Reeves sang it, and it was so super super simple. But then it's, I think it's the message that came across that's so beautiful. I really want to keep that, the just keeping the message, but at the same time just adding my essence to it. So that's something that I want to have to try.
Okay. Well, send me those. I'll be able to send you a couple tips on WhatsApp if you like for those songs.
Yes, please. I would appreciate that.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, send those over. I guess we were going to get into the structure of the song, so maybe as a last finishing postscript closing note to this session, I wanted to tell you that the basic structure of the song is verse, chorus, solo, chorus. And the solo is over the same chord progression as the verse. So it's almost as if it's a verse, chorus structure. But instead of another verse there, they exchange it for a solo, which is kind of like putting in a bridge, basically. But if I remember correctly, though, the guitar solo was mostly playing around with the verse melody to begin with. So there wasn't a whole lot of variation on the verse melody. It was just like a verse, but without lyrics and a different sound on the melody instrument. So basically, the typical pop song structure, right? Verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, 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 chorus. And this is really kind of a variation on that. And let's go into next time how and why exactly this is so effective, and what it is that we need to be aware of when we're creating these different sections in a song. Would that be okay? As a kind of
that would be perfect. Yeah.
Focus going forward. I wanted to have something. There's also other topics from last session. I'm looking at the list again that we haven't gotten to this time. There was so much to talk about. So we have a lot of ideas for where to go next, for sure. But I'll add that to the list. We'll get more specific about the song structure, and I will give you tips around the jazz gig, and hopefully you'll be able to use some of those in your performances. I would really, really love for you to have some more growth and success over there as well.
Yay. Thank you to me. I appreciate it. This has been like I said, another gold nugget within like a, it seems so short. Our session seems so short because I keep getting excited about it. And this is it's nice. It's more intuition based, but at the same time, very technical, which I love. It's giving me structure and feeling at the same time.
Yeah. So we got that. Yeah, this was a very feeling oriented and kind of a flow oriented session, but how you can kind of use the feelings to regulate themselves by being aware of what the others are doing and reacting to that. That's very important too, obviously. But let's set the intention right now to go a little bit more structural in the next session then, yeah? And okay. So,
but in a way, actually, if you think about it, in a way, you kind of guided me to how the feeling is supposed to flow so that it could have structure. So you kind of gave structure to the feeling and how to end it that way, how to put it together. So that's really very substantial.
Okay, well, I'm so happy to hear that you got some gold nuggets from this one. I really, I look forward to hearing how it goes on Saturday, is it, for the gig? I look forward to listening to the songs. I'll upload the session right after. And aside from that, I wish you an amazing week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much, Sumi.
Thank you so much,
I'm gonna
Joanne.
send you links, and we'll continue talking on WhatsApp.
Awesome. Yes.
All
Mwah.
right. Bye.
See
Thank
ya.
you.